Hello and welcome to my New Year's resolution. I have created a survey and sent it to 9 members of my friends and family, posing the question: if you could make everyone in the world listen to 3 albums, what would they be? I will then be listening to their selections and grading them based on a completely arbitrary criteria. As you can see, I've already done my mom. If you haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. Or don't, because I'm not your boss, baby. You're free. And the second person to submit their answers was my friend Henry. Here were my predictions for what Henry would submit. First of all, I said he would submit 3 niche artists that I've never heard of before or have only heard of from him talking about them. And then more specifically, I guessed Kimya Dawson and Faye Webster. The first album that Henry submitted was The Glow Part 2 by The Microphones.
There's no black or white, no change in the light, no night, no golden sun.
I'll go ahead and say now that I was right that I had only ever heard of these artists from Henry, if at all. The Microphones I had not heard of at all. And I also was surprised overall with how angsty sounding the music was. Maybe I should have expected that, but I didn't. Here's me dancing to The Glow. As you can see from this video, I didn't find this album to be very danceable. I'll go ahead and say I don't think that's what they were going for, so it's not that big of a knock on them, but it is harder for me. So for danceability, I did give them a 1 out of 5. I would say the poetry was the best part of this album. There were some lyrics that really piqued my interest, some that I found very interesting. I'm running into something with this category where a lot of the time the songs that are the most poetic, I don't really know what they're saying and I'm not looking into it any further. So I'm missing some context here, I'll admit, and also a lot of the poetry was very angsty, which is something that I honestly don't find that relatable. So sue me, sorry. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 for poetry. And then similarly, and I'll also say there's a type of angsty that I find fun and enjoyable. The way that they went about it in this album felt kind of bummery to me. And like, some people love a bummer, that's good for them. It's just not, my personal taste. So for emotional response, I did give it a 1 out of 5. And Henry, I'm sorry, and I promise it does improve from here. Parts of this album were very pretty, but they also sometimes went for more of a discordant kind of sound, which I don't hate, but I don't know. I would say, I mean, you know what, it's like, it doesn't mean it's worse, it just means it's less pretty. So there. So I went with a 2 out of 5 for prettiness. There were definitely songs in this album that I would revisit, and that I ended up liking more than I expected to also, like based on the first impression I had of it, because it's not the kind of genre I usually listen to, obviously, but some of the songs I thought were great, but I probably wouldn't listen to the album as a whole again. I gave it a 3 out of 10 total. And my favorite song from this album was The Mansion.
There's no heat, there's no expansion, there's no door into the mansion.
Henry's second album was The Bible 2 by AJJ, another sequel.
I watched white words falling out of the skin. I saw white words.
Here's me dancing to this album.
And if you don't want to feel the feeling, no one should ever make you feel the feeling. If you don't want to feel the feeling.
I honestly think someone else could give this album a higher danceability rating. It's just that this is not what I normally dance to or how I normally dance. I think it's kind of like a moshy album, okay? But I gave it a 2 out of 5. I really thought the lyrics were strong in this. There were just some really intriguing lyrics. There's like a lot of kind of like, I would say, fictional songs here, and like they tell interesting stories, and it's very weird. Again, like angsty, but I would say in like a more upbeat, like loud, angry in my room kind of vibe, and I liked that more. I liked the lyrics a lot. They made me think, they made me laugh. They were very funny. 4 out of 5. I would say for those reasons, I had fun with this album. But like, again, because I don't find the angstiness so relatable, it wasn't like moving me to tears or anything. So I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 emotional response. And definitely more upbeat than the last album, which I did like better, but not going for prettiness, I wouldn't say, aesthetically. So I'm giving it a 1 out of 5 prettiness. Okay, and I know my overall rankings for these are on the lower side. But again, like I said in the last video, first of all, there's not that much science about how I'm getting from that to the ranking. And I will admit, in contradiction to what I said in the last video, that I did revisit this in a way that I grew in appreciation for it, and it felt dishonest to give my initial ranking. So I bumped it up a little bit, and it's a 6 out of 10. And my favorite song from this album was Small Red Boy. I liked the sound of White Worms the best, but the lyrics of Small Red Boy just, I found very, I don't know, they created some sort of reaction in my brain. I thought they were very interesting. I said, that's a funny idea. If you had a baby that was Satan, I think is what it's about.
He opened up those eyes that said, I am the truth.
And Henry's third and final album was Thunder Thighs by Kimya Dawson. I know you were sitting in your seats, you were sweating, you were so stressed out. What if Sienna's predictions didn't come true? Other than that, she didn't know any of the artists. But they did. There was no Faye Webster, which I was surprised by because I've heard Henry say that's their favorite artist, but there was Kimya Dawson, so bingo, and I win.
There's nobody living by the clock, and every door is left unlocked.
Here's me dancing.
I like my bike. I like my bike. I like my car. I like my car. I go so fast. I go so fast. I go so far. I go so far.
This album had a real funness to it in a lot of the songs, but I just didn't find it to be like a super danceable funness, so I gave it a 2 out of 5. In terms of lyrics, I would posit that a lot of the time Kimya goes for more of an overall aesthetic than like the words having a lot of meaning, but there were some lyrics that really got me in this album, and there were some songs that were very lyric based and, you know, that the words really had a lot of meaning. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Again, certain songs here were moving and like really had those gripping lyrics, and certain songs were fun and like I liked the aesthetic that she went for a lot of the time, but I didn't find her that relatable. She's really good at communicating what she's like, and I think she did a great job of, like, if you found her relatable, I think there would be such a strong emotional response here, but I just didn't relate that strongly to a lot of what she was communicating, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 for emotional response. There were a couple songs that ranked highly for prettiness here, but I would say, like, tonally in her voice and, like, I don't know, with the instruments and stuff, she, like, goes for, honestly, kind of like a grating sound, like, and I think I'm assuming it's intentional, like, a little bit behind the beat and flat. I think she wants there to be, like, a rawness to it, but it doesn't contribute very strongly to prettiness, so I gave it a 2 out of 5. Pretty. I did like this one. I definitely think there were songs on it that I would revisit. I think that I had a little bit less fun with it than The Bible 2, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. And my favorite song from this album was You're In.
Urine, lots and lots of urine. I need a lot of urine so I can be honest.
Thank you for watching. This is my second of 9 of these videos, and there's already been so much difference between the submissions from the first 2 people, and overall I'm expecting from the responses I got a lot of variety, so I'm so excited to see what everybody else submitted and to listen to it and then tell you what I think. Like and subscribe!